I spent the last 9 months in survival mode. What even is survival mode? Are you in it? Am I still in it? Hello, my name is Stella. Yeah, that was me. I have just gone through a massive journey. Those women who look like they are the most capable or are the most capable are actually the ones that are the furthest from safety. That feels really fucking lonely. It doesn't always look like you are falling apart. There was this constant grade of alertness. It never turned off. Wow, I am sorry. I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to talk to you guys. Start again. Hello, you guys. Welcome. I don't even know how to start this. It has been a hot minute. It has been, I'm pretty sure, almost 9 months, which is crazy. Like, that's how long it takes to grow a baby inside a stomach. You could say I've had a rebirth. If you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Stella. I am a trauma-informed mindset coach, and I am on a mission to support high-functioning, hyper-independent women who are just done with feeling like they're surviving success and are ready to actually start feeling it. And if you're returning, I just want to say I see all of your messages and your stories when we had the Spotify Wrapped about the podcast. Like, I see you all, and I just want to say, like, from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful for you all. I'm so just like, I think along the last 9 months, like having you girls message me and say like, when's the podcast coming back? And, you know, it really reminded me in moments where like those messages all came at moments where I really needed them and reminded me that my voice is something unique and it does impact you guys and it is heard. And I think it's a weird thing because I'm sitting here by myself, literally in my bed, and you forget that there is other people on the other side of this listening. It's a moment that I don't take for granted, and I truly feel so honored to have the opportunity to be able to do that. So I want to say thank you to all of you. Okay, so as you guys have probably read from the title of this week's episode, I didn't realize, but I spent the last 9 months in survival mode, and I wrote all of this out, and I thought, do you know what? This is the perfect episode to come back to the podcast with and talk about it. So if you see me looking down, it's because I've put my heart and soul into my laptop. There's a lot that I want to talk about and I don't want to miss any of it. So you see me looking down, that's what we're doing. But yeah, so essentially the last 9 months, I did not realize that I was in survival mode. And I guess I thought that I was busy. I thought that it was a hard season. I thought that I was coping. And for 9 months, I was functioning. I was working. I was leading. I was showing up for clients. I was showing up for others. I was, doing the therapy sessions, showing up for myself. I was filming content, actually a little bit here and there with that. But like I was showing up to the best of my ability, and I was coaching, I was, running the business, I was holding everything together. But just because you are holding it together does not mean that it's sustainable. And I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions, at least that I held about survival mode. My body was tight, my breathing was shallow, rapid, quick, my sleep was fractured, so fractured. There was this constant grade of alertness, and no matter how intentional I tried to be or I was, it never turned off. It felt heavy. It felt lonely. Funnily enough, I didn't feel broken as I'd kind of assumed survival mode would feel. What I've come to understand is that survival mode, it doesn't always look like you are falling apart. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions I had, is that if you're in survival mode, you're going to look like you're falling apart. But in fact, in my case, it really didn't look like that at all. And that's exactly why I am drawn to come here and sit down and talk to you girls about all of this, or boys if you're listening as well, so that I can bring you along this journey, because that's why I started the podcast and my social media and coaching and all of that, because I, for whatever reason, have been chosen to face the cards that I've been dealt. And I really do feel like I've got this gift, if you want, of being able to articulate how I'm feeling or open up, or, I hear it from clients all the time, making them feel so safe and seen and understood, and having such a pivotal point in their life and being able to bring them along their own transformation. So that's what's led me to now. I have just gone through a massive journey of, reaching this peak in survival mode and kind of breaking down the layers and coming out of that. And I think that this message is really important because sometimes survival mode looks like high functioning. Sometimes it looks like strength or productivity. And sometimes those women who look like they are the most capable or are the most capable are actually the ones that are the furthest from safety. And I think that's something that I really struggled with, is that feels really fucking lonely because nobody thinks that you're not coping, or everyone just assumes that you're capable and leaves you at that. I'm here because I know what it's like to be her. I know what it's like to assume that this is just my life. Like, what do you mean? Or to assume that you're the one that's responsible for the role of carrying everything on your own. I know what it's like to be so used to productivity, to the high cortisol, the shallow breathing, constant alertness, success, yet nothing feeling like you're finally there or that you've actually achieved that, or feeling that moment of success at the end. So if this is your normal, I want to say thank you. You're in the right place, and I want to bring you along this journey because it's been a wild ride. So I want to start with, what even is survival mode? Are you in it? Am I still in it? What actually is it? Basically, to put simply, it's when you're continuously mentally and physically exhausted. So it's where your brain is constantly operating in what we call as safe mode. Now you might be wondering, why might this happen, Stella? I'm so glad you asked. It happens because of continued stress, trauma, or burnout. Hello, my name is Stella. Yeah, that was me. I just want to call myself out right now because this is not some badge of honor, and I think that I tried to wear it as one because I didn't know what else to do with it. I thought that this is just life. Don't get me wrong, I am very, very proud of myself. I think that you should also be proud of yourself because at the end of the day, we are all doing the best that we can with what we've got. And I don't think you should blame yourself for not knowing what time could only teach you or what time could only heal. I just want to take this moment to, like, I see you, and there is no shame that you should give yourself in this conversation. You should be proud of yourself. You've done the best that you can. But just because it's the best that you can do, it doesn't mean that it's sustainable or that you can't learn and then do different. I think that we see so many people projecting in a way that feels like this hustle or productivity or, insert your thing is some kind of badge of honor that we should be wearing. But what I've started, I guess, questioning is, what if the thing that all of those people actually need is just safety? Just for someone to see that they're just actually operating in survival mode. Survival mode is like being reactive to life constantly. And I think when I initially heard or hear the word reactive, I think of this like emotional reactive state, like yelling or crying or, insert your thing. But I don't mean it in that way. I mean it more so in a sense of you're in this constant fight to get through the day rather than feeling proactive about planning. And you know what the result or symptoms of living in this constant survival mode is? It's that severe fatigue, the anxiety, a constant fight or flight response, not having the energy to actually make decisions, leaving things to pile on top of each other, or, productivity hiding the collapse that actually lies underneath. Okay, now if we break this down, there are two parts that actually make up our nervous system. There's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system is the one that's responsible for rest and digest. So it slows down your heart rate, it reduces your blood pressure, it helps with digestion, recovery, having energy, that sort of thing. And then our sympathetic nervous system, this is what manages our fight or flight. So how we respond in, a bear was chasing you, you'd switch into your sympathetic nervous system, and that essentially acts in a way that increases your heart rate, it increases your blood pressure, alertness during stress, those sort of things. So when we're stuck in survival mode, our sympathetic nervous system is the one that's more dominant. Guys, I literally put my phone on do not disturb, and I put it on so that nobody can disturb me, and my sister presses notify anyway for an outfit for her to drive in the car. Love you, queen, if you're listening, which probably not. So yes, when we're in that sympathetic nervous system, the consequence of that is we're not digesting properly, we're not recovering, our energy consumption, like all of these things are not working in a way that's optimal for a sustainable way of living. I want to ask you a question. When you hear the word hypervigilance or survival mode, do you immediately couple it with panic? Because if you're anything like me, that's what I used to do. And I think when you guys listen to what I'm saying and there is still that essence of familiarity in that, it can feel a little bit confusing because you're battling between what you assumed was survival mode or hypervigilance being this panicked state. But being hypervigilant doesn't actually always mean that you're in this panicked state. Sometimes hypervigilance or survival mode is just your body constantly scanning because it's been operating like that for so long and it hasn't actually had a chance to let that guard down. So if this is you, I want you to know that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. I know that you're doing your best. I know it feels like you're functioning. I know that this might feel like it's your normal. I want you to know that I truly do see you because I was you too. I was her. And as a high functioning woman myself, it wasn't even that I missed those early signals. I saw them. It was more so the fact that I'd never been taught that it was actually safe to land at those early signals. Instead, I overrode them. Okay, so moving on to another layer within this, I guess a bit more about my experience with it. Basically, there'd been some events that really destabilized me and my sense of safety. You know, the events where your body responds with this tightness in your chest that almost feels non-consensual, like somebody has violated your body, and without even realizing that response somehow merges into your every single life. It becomes your new state of normal, as if somebody is constantly holding a weight on your chest. Or those events where it results in this shallow breathing, and at some point along the way you've had this vague realization that you no longer know how to take a deep breath, or even when the last one you took was. That constant readiness, productivity that masks this deep internal collapse. I know if you're still here with me and you're listening that this is probably familiar. You can probably relate, and I just want to say I'm really sorry that you've experience this and this is where you're at. You never deserved this. You never deserved to be operating or functioning in this survival mode. But just because it is your normal does not mean that it's sustainable or you have to stay there. As you guys know, what happened to you is not your fault, but who you become is entirely your responsibility. And it's only upon reflection that and a lot of therapy that I'm able to come here now and talk about this the way that I can. So that response that our bodies have during those destabilizing moments, although it can feel really stressful, or looking back, seeing that that's the way that we've responded and we're just now stuck like that, while that can feel really stressful, there's actually something really reassuring within that, because essentially what is happening is our bodies keep score. So that response that we have during the destabilizing moments, you know, the ones that are like the tight chest, the shallow breathing, insert your thing. This is purely because your body has registered it and been like, I've seen this moment before. And it's like a little alarm clock goes off in your body. And that alarm clock is there to trigger another part of your body to send signals in an attempt to communicate to your brain. And basically those signals are just trying to communicate, hey, we've been here before, this isn't safe, let's click into the right gear that's going to protect us and keep us safe. And then that's when we respond in whatever way we learnt to when we were first exposed to that version of destabilization. So for me, when I heard this or learnt this, I found it really reassuring, because it's almost like evidence to trust yourself. Because if you think about it, your body has learnt and retained that information and that way of responding, and it's stored it in a part of your brain, and it's responded so quickly that it feels non-consensual or immediate or uncontrollable. But it's not your body failing or malfunctioning. It's just your body protecting you, and that is intelligence. And that is the part that I want you to hold on to and remember. Your body is intelligent. Use that as evidence to trust yourself. You guys have probably heard me talk about patterns. We repeat what we don't repair. So this is coping mechanisms that we've developed in order to keep us safe, or environments that we grew familiar to that we subconsciously keep attracting. Whatever your patterns are, remember this. We repeat what we don't repair. And I had heard this so many times, but what I was missing is that with new levels come new devils. So there's phases in healing that we go through, and you can only process or heal or repair whatever you have the capacity to do. So that's the part that I kept missing. I kept thinking, I've worked through this pattern. Why is it coming back up? Like, what could I possibly have to continue to repair this pattern? And I don't want to jinx it. And God, if you're listening to me, please don't jinx me. But I really do feel like I've broken it. I feel like I've repaired what I was repeating. So awareness precedes change. That's step one. That is, I feel like, what we saw in me starting coaching and this whole journey with supporting you guys, is there was so much awareness in that, and that does precede change, but awareness alone is not going to heal you or break the patterns or repair them on their own. So step two is finding the root and healing it there. So whatever event or moment it was that first created that pattern, that's where we need to start. And that's why I focus so much on inner child healing with a lot of my clients, because until we get to there, we're basically just putting band-aids on, and it helps, but you find yourself repeating that because we've not gotten to the root. Something that I always say is, with new levels come new devils, or when you ask for a new level, don't be surprised when your current one crumbles. So for me, I wanted to level up. I wanted to impact more people on a deeper level. I wanted to create or build assets. I wanted to reach new income goals, and I tried and I couldn't. I felt stuck. I tried so freaking hard, you guys. I thought that maybe it was I'm not smart enough, or I needed more logic or more education, but it wasn't any of these things at all. I was stuck at this level because I was operating in survival mode 24/7. And I mean, upon reflection, there's no real surprises here, is there? Because my mum literally watched my dad pass away while I was in her stomach. So survival mode was literally the only mode I knew. I'd never really known a life not in that mode. But you guys, the longer that I stayed in that survival mode, the more destabilizing events that I endured, until my body's quiet attempts of communicating to me became so fucking loud and deafening that I couldn't ignore them anymore. If we circle back to asking for a new level and not being surprised when your current one crumbles, this was my level. Survival mode was my level, and the patterns within that had to crumble in order for me to move forward. So if this is you, I guess want to give you a bit of reassurance and support in knowing that if you're listening to this episode, I really truly think that it is by accident. And I know that you hear these woo-woo people say that, but truly, you wouldn't be hearing this if you weren't meant to. You would have just skipped past it. It wouldn't have appealed to you. It wouldn't have spoken to you. You probably would have come back to it at a point where you did have this capacity or the tools or the support around you to then take this on. You're hearing this for a reason. And if it feels like you just keep ending up in the same situations, or you're stuck in this stressful survival mode that has become your new normal and you're frustrated with it, or it feels like life is crumbling, I will hope that you hear this episode now and me talking what I'm talking about and feel reassurance in knowing that it has to crumble in order for you to get the life that you want. And sometimes getting that life means losing everything that you thought that you knew, or your values, your life, the people in it, everything being challenged, and you just have to trust that you're ready for it. Okay, so moving on to the patterns within this level of survival mode that I was experiencing, I want to talk about what they were. I always identified as the strong one, and I guess I would say, how could I not? When I've been through this many things, how could I not identify as being strong? Like I am. I was a hyper capable one. I was hyper aware. I was hyper independent. And for so long, I wore that like a badge of honor, like I said at the start. But what I've realized is that hyper independence isn't confidence. It's often just a beautifully wrapped trauma response, if you will. And it's your nervous system saying, if I rely on anyone, I get hurt. If I stay in control, I stay safe. If I don't expect anything, I can't be disappointed. I can't be let down. And for me, that formed when my safety was compromised, or I wasn't protected, or, my pain wasn't believed, or when I had to stabilize the chaos that was around me. When being strong felt safer than being supported. But underneath that was a very exhausted little girl. She was isolated. She felt alone. This tension that felt like it had literally been there forever. It probably had. And this belief that nobody's coming to save me, or I don't deserve to be supported. And I don't mean that in some dramatic way, more so in a protective way. Like, this was my baseline. This is my standard. For so long, I assigned myself the role of rescuing others. Like, my worth was literally dependent on it. That was such a deep subconscious belief that I held about myself. And I guess that checks out when your worth is built on enduring, fixing, stabilizing others before you even have the awareness, let alone the language, to even know what self-worth is. I became the stabilizer. I became the rescuer, the strong one, If something was chaotic, I'd run in and regulate it. If someone was struggling, I'd hold them. If things were unstable, I'd endure it. So that chaos was familiar. It was normal. But you know what the result of that was? I subconsciously gravitated towards this intensity, people who needed me, situations where I became the emotional regulator, because that confirmed I matter when I hold it together. You guys, when I tell you, my identity was rattled when I stopped assigning myself this role of rescuing others. And respectfully, I don't know who I thought I was. Jesus, God. Anyway, for years, that identity worked. It really did, you guys. It created control. It created productivity. But the thing that it prevented me from was my ability to be feminine, to have that soft energy, to rest, to receive. And you deserve those things. I, for so long, just thought those things don't happen to people like me. Like, that's just not me. Or I just didn't even believe that that was a real thing in this world. And you know what, guys? That works. It worked for me until it didn't, and until it doesn't for you. And I think the thing that nobody tells us high functioning women is you can be strong and you can still be completely dysregulated. I was strong, but I was not regulated. And strength without regulation just becomes endurance, and endurance long term becomes collapse. See, us strong women, we often miss collapse because we've coupled that with breaking down or being a mess. But collapse does not always look like weakness. In fact, it often looks like working harder or pushing through, staying composed, still performing. But what if all of that is just masking dysregulation? I want to go back to what I started talking about at the very start of this episode, is being in survival mode is actually intelligence. It's literally your body doing exactly what it is designed to do, to protect you and to keep you safe. Hypervigilance is intelligent. Control is intelligent. Hyperindependence is intelligent. But just because those states are intelligent does not mean that you're meant to be in those states permanently. You're not meant to live your life constantly braced. Something that I've learned along this way is surviving is something that we're supposed to metabolize, meaning we're not supposed to just get through it and soldier on and shove it under a rug. It's something that we're supposed to, gradually adapt to and change and learn and grow through. And I guess if we look at food, for an example, and the way that our body metabolizes food, it's something like we do that actively. We do that internally, intentionally. Our body absorbs all of these nutrients and it sends it to different parts of our bodies so that we can then turn that into various parts of life, whether that's energy, the ability to go to sleep, or, lift weights, or go for a walk, or talk, use our brains, functions, like converting it into usable strength and energy. That same thing applies to surviving. We're supposed to metabolize it. We're not supposed to just get through and adapt to this state of surviving. We're supposed to allow ourselves time and support and, the tools or whatever it is to gradually apply that and to change and to learn and to grow through all of that. It's not supposed to be a life sentence or your new state. So with all of that said, I'm going to pretty confidently assume that if you're still listening, that you can relate in some capacity. I was her, and I'll be honest, guys, I'm still working through it. I still have my moments. I'm not perfect, but you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to, how boring would it be if you did have it all together and you were doing it perfectly? I want you to know that I see you and I understand you, and I'm sorry that this is the way that this is what you're navigating, but trust that God would not give you this if he didn't believe that you didn't have the strength and the capacity and the tools and the support around you to navigate it. I haven't decided yet if this is going to be a season, like just the theme of this season, or if I just make it into a little series. But I did think of a little name for it, and it's going to be Unmuted. So whether it turns into the theme of this season, or if it just becomes a series on the podcast, welcome. I want to be opening up conversations around all of this and each of the layers underneath it that make up this survival mode, and how I've navigated things, not just the revelations, but the not so glamorous moments as well, because let's be real, growth isn't always glamorous. I want to share with you guys the do's and the don'ts, and how I now apply it to my everyday life, and how I've also integrated it in the way that I support and show up for my clients as well. As you can see, I'm in my bed, and I really fought. There was a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of excuses that I made for myself in not doing the podcast from here. But do you know what's really funny? With this whole Coachella thing and Justin Bieber, and if you're not around it, he essentially got a laptop, I think it was, or he got something up that was showing like his YouTube videos of him singing, and he like duetted with this video and he was singing. The internet's been going wild about it being this like really healing inner child moment. And it reminded me of when I was younger, I wanted to be a famous singer, and long story short, gave up on that career, obviously. But I remember this dream that I held, and I thought, do you know what would be so cool? To get up on stage, but make the stage look like a bedroom. And that way, it's this nostalgic moment where you're this famous pop star singer and you're performing in your bedroom, and it's like this full circle moment because you start here in your bedroom and you're talking yap, and then suddenly you're in front of this big crowd of people in the same environment doing the same thing but just reaching a wider audience. And I realized I had planned to come back to the podcast in the comfort of my bed because I was like, this is me, like I just want this to be a relaxed, energy, comfortable, like safe space. And I was like, oh my God, this is like a full circle moment. Like little me, she thought that she was going to be this famous pop star singer and, have her moment like that. But this is it. This is my moment. This is my full circle moment. I am, in the comfort of my bed talking to 3 people listening. Jokes. There actually is quite a few of you that listen, which is kind of mortifying at the same time. But I'm here. I'm doing it in the comfort of my bed. I love you all so much, and I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you, whether you're new or you're returning. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity and to just be here with the girls. If you haven't already, make sure that if you're on YouTube, subscribe so that you're staying up to date. And if you're on Spotify, follow. I think it's follow. And rate the podcast if you're enjoying. If you're not, slide into the DMs and give me some constructive criticism because I love that shit. And I will see you girls in next week's episode. Next week, that feels so weird, but I love you all so much and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.